On December 28, 1964, Dr. King convened a meeting of the groups organizing in Selma to present a plan, the Project for an Alabama Political Freedom Movement. We will hold a mass meeting on January 2nd to break Judge Hare's injunction and concentrate our efforts on voter registration and mass demonstrations in Dallas County. Selma had just elected a new mayor, Joe Smitherman, a refrigerator salesman. He was considered a moderate segregationist, that is, and he was hoping to attract northern business investment to the area, something he couldn't do if public confrontations with protesters brought negative media attention. Mayor Smitherman quickly appointed Wilson Baker as Selma's chief of police. Baker had narrowly lost to Jim Clark in the race for sheriff, partially due to Baker's less violent attitudes toward dealing with protesters. This pitted Clark and Baker in a battle over jurisdiction. Baker's officers patrolled the city, while Clark and his deputies controlled the courthouse. We chose to launch our campaign on January 2nd because Sheriff Clark was going to be out of town attending the Orange Bowl, and Chief Baker had said he would not enforce Judge Hare's injunction forbidding gatherings of more than 3 people. January 2nd, 1965. Only one church in Selma was willing to risk the potential retribution for hosting the kickoff mass meeting, Brown Chapel AME. At first, we were worried no one would show up. But by the time the meeting started, we had more people than the church could hold. Today marks the beginning of a determined, organized, mobilized campaign to get the right to vote everywhere in Alabama. If we are refused, we will appeal to Governor George Wallace. If he refuses to listen, we will appeal to the legislature. If they don't listen, we will appeal to the conscience of Congress. We must be ready to march. We must be ready to go to jail by the thousands. Our cry to the state of Alabama is a simple one. Give us the ballot. The injunction had been broken. No one was arrested. That evening, a meeting was held at Amelia Boynton's home, and the date of our first mass protest was set, January 18th. Sheriff Clark would be back in town. Within SNCC, there were strong feelings that we had done the hard, necessary work laying the foundation. But now Dr. King and SCLC would swoop in and grab headlines without building strong ties to the community. I understood why they felt that way. The SNCC staff working in Alabama had already been neglected by the emphasis we put on Mississippi, and now they were being pushed aside by SCLC. As chairman of SNCC and a member of SCLC's board, I was caught in the middle. But the way I saw it, the people of Selma invited Dr. King and SCLC to help. And we just had to accept it. Communist scum! Just turn right around here. Get out of here now. Stop right there. You can't block the sidewalk. Form a line in the alley over on the side of the building. Come on now. Clear the sidewalk. And we waited. We waited all afternoon. It tends to be forgotten among the moments of drama and violence just how many days of uneventful protests took place outside the courtrooms and jails. No one was let into the courthouse. No one was registered to vote. But the line was drawn. Later that afternoon, I went over to the Hotel Albert, where Dr. King was attempting to become the first African American to ever sign in as a guest. Oh, hey, you're Martin Luther King? I'd like to ask you something. Whap! I don't know what came over me. I didn't hit him. though I may have thought about it for a split second. It was the closest I've ever come to laying down my nonviolence. I found out that day even I have limits. We marched again the very next day, but this time we were not going to comply with Sheriff Clark if he ordered us down the alley. Dr. King had to attend a speaking engagement elsewhere, so a young man from SCLC named Hosea Williams led the march with me. Y'all stop right there. You have to line up in the alley and go through the side door. Sheriff Clark, we want to enter through the front door. That's so. Y'all are all under arrest. All right, y'all know the drill. Come on, let's move it. Hey, you, catch. You. Amelia Boynton, who was there to vouch for anyone who might make it into the courthouse to register, caught Sheriff Clark's attention. I said move it. Miss Boynton was a respected businesswoman and organizer, but that didn't stop him. Flash, flash, click, click. You're all under arrest. Me too? Are they arresting me? Shh, don't be scared. Just stay close. Don't let go of my hand. More than 60 of us were arrested, including local third grade teacher Margaret Moore and her student Cheyenne Webb. But thanks to the unbelievable lawyers from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, we were released later that day. January 20th, 1965. The next day I led yet another march to the county courthouse. In Washington, it was Inauguration Day. The nation's political establishment gathered at the Capitol to swear in Johnson to his first full presidential term. But it couldn't have seemed farther away. John Lewis, you stop these people right now. Again, go line up in the alley, and when we said so, these people can go through the side door. Sheriff Clark, we want to enter through the front door. Agitator, you're the lowest form of humanity. You have 1 minute to move. 1, 2, 3, 20, 21, 22, 34, 35, 36, 47, 48, 49, 59, 60. You all under arrest. Jim Clark, 225. Martin Luther, 0. January 22nd, 1965. I was released from jail in time to see something truly remarkable. Come on, you have to come too. They're gonna fire us, Rhoda. I've got 2 kids and my husband hasn't had work in 6 months. I can't lose my job and I can't go to jail. They probably won't fire us. Who's going to teach? If we're not in the classroom, then the kids will be out in the streets, probably protesting too. Besides, how can we teach American civics when we can't vote? Okay, I'll come. Reverend F.D. Reese was president of the Dallas County Voter League, and he was also a school teacher, and he actively recruited his colleagues' participation. Never before had school teachers gathered to march, but some had joined us here and there, but this was something to behold. Margaret Moore's participation earlier in the week served as inspiration. Nearly every Black school teacher in Selma turned out. Many of them carried toothbrushes to show they weren't afraid of going to jail. Come on now, this courthouse is a serious place of business. You seem to think it's Disneyland or something on parade. You came to make a mockery of this courthouse, and we're not gonna have it. Thud, whoop, thud, thud. Click, flush, click. March! You come up these stairs one more time, and I will arrest every single last one of you. Sheriff, a word? Jim, that's 100 teachers out there. You arrest them and you'll have 1,000 students here on Monday. Is that what you want? You have 10 seconds to get off these steps. Time's up. Now move. Boom. Push him back. Thud, thud, jab. Finally, Andrew Young and Reverend Reese decided their point had been made. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine out in the dark. I'm gonna let it shine. Sheriff Clark's bullying and the courage of those teachers made the evening news. Over the weekend, word of the Teachers' March spread, and our numbers expanded as other professional groups decided they too would march. Looking around, I couldn't help but notice that so many people from those early days in Nashville were now pitching in with the effort in Selma. Diane and Bevel were working with the SCLC now. No, I need them by Monday. Bernard Lafayette was there, working for SCLC too. Even CT Vivian came down to help. Only a handful of SNCC staff were there, and many of my colleagues saw the operation as SCLC's show. But if the people of Selma wanted to march, I was going to march with them. January 25th, 1965. On Monday, I joined the line of more than 250 people picketing outside the courthouse. Ain't nobody scared around here. Annie Lee Cooper, she lost her job in 1963 for participating in our first Freedom Day in Selma. Shove, shove, crack, whomp, flash. I wish you would hit me, scum. Flash, flash, click, click. The next day, photos of Annie Lee Cooper's battered face appeared in newspapers across the country. Some years later, she would be elected to Selma City Council. The very next day, we were back again, and I got arrested. I was released from jail in time to join the next day's protest, and I got arrested again. As I went to jail, Atlanta's elite were preparing a black-tie dinner to honor Dr. King for receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. Despite Atlanta's progressive reputation, the dinner was almost an embarrassment when many business leaders refused to attend. That is, until Coca-Cola chairman Robert Woodruff, arguably the most powerful person in the city, made it clear that Atlanta would properly honor its newest Nobel laureate. Back in Selma, despite headlines generated by Sheriff Clark's brutality, the movement continued to lose steam. By the end of the month, fewer than 60 people had been allowed into the courthouse to attempt to register, and every single one of them was rejected. To make matters worse, SNCC was nearly broke. I had left Selma for an urgent fundraising trip to California when, on February 1st, 5 years since those first sit-ins in Greensboro, this was a deliberate attempt to dramatize the conditions in the city, state, and community. Dr. King decided to step up the pressure by going to jail himself. Later that week, while Dr. King was still in jail and the courthouse marches continued, Malcolm X visited Selma. I'm a field Negro. If the master won't treat me right and he's sick, I'll tell the doctor to go the other way. Now, I'm not intending to try and stir you up and make you do something you wouldn't have done anyway. I pray that God will bless you in everything that you do. I pray that you will grow intellectually so that you can understand the problems of the world and where you fit into that world picture. I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man out there, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. They function in mobs. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. The time will come when that sheet will be ripped off. And the federal government doesn't take it off, well, we'll take it off. Can you tell us why you're here today? I am 100% for any effort put forth by Black people in this country to have access to the ballot. And I frankly believe that since the ballot is our right, we are within that right to use whatever means necessary to secure those rights. People would do well to listen to Dr. King and give him what he's asking for, and give it to him fast. before some other factions come along and try to do it another way. What he's asking for is right. Are you saying that nonviolence ought to be abandoned here in Selma? Dr. King and his followers are very intelligently trying to impress the people of this area that they should give the black man the right to vote. Now, if those people are not intelligent enough themselves to recognize what they consider an intelligent approach, then I think the intelligence of the black people in this area will compel them to devise another method that will get results. Mrs. King? Hello, Malcolm. Mrs. King. I will tell, will you tell Dr. King that I had planned to visit with him in jail? I won't get a chance now, I'm afraid. I want Dr. King to know that I didn't come to Selma to make his job difficult. I really do think my presence could make it easier if the white people realize what the alternative is. Perhaps they'll be more willing to hear him out. SCLC published Dr. King's A Letter from a Selma Jail in the New York Times, and while it didn't provoke the same public outcry as earlier letters, President Johnson did address the events in Selma during a national press conference. All Americans should be indignant when one American is denied the right to vote. The loss of that right to a single citizen undermines the freedom of every citizen. This is why all of us should be concerned with the efforts of our fellow Americans to register to vote in Alabama. The next day, Dr. King was released from jail, and I flew back from California to join him. We greeted a delegation of congressmen who had come to Selma to see for themselves what was happening. March, damn it! While we weren't getting very many people registered, we were getting to Sheriff Clark. In what became known as the Forced March, Clark and his men made more than 100 students protesting at the courthouse run all the way to the county jail. What are you going to do now? Cry about it? We're going to make him, we'll give you something to cry about. Whap! Come on, let's go. Let's go. Kids as young as 9 years old. 3 days later, Clark collapsed from chest pains. The pressure was taking its toll. We wish Jim Clark a speedy recovery. Get well, mind and body. Jim Clark, get well. Doctors told him he was suffering from exhaustion. When he was released the next day, Clark had added a button to his jacket lapel. Click, 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 flash, flash, click. Never